The coronavirus pandemic has affected millions of lives around the world and forced people to adapt in new ways. Today, we'll talk to an essential worker who ensures that our children are properly educated. I'm sitting here today with third grade special education teacher Chelsea Doby. She's been an education provider for 3 years and she teaches in Cobb County. Hey Chelsea, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. So let's rewind and talk about when the pandemic first started around March. The NBA got shut down, lots of sports got shut down, colleges were shut down as well. Tell me about a little bit of what was kind of going on in the school systems that you worked at.
So back in March, we didn't really know a whole lot until the Friday before they decided to shut us down. We were told at the end of the day. So we tried our best to make copies and get everything together that we would need because they didn't give us a time that we would be coming back to school. So it was a little bit hectic, and we had that afternoon to gather everything that we needed.
So you have to teach virtually online now. This is something that, I don't think any teacher's ever had to do that wasn't a college professor or something along those lines beforehand. Kind of tell me a little bit how the online school day worked.
When we taught virtual, we didn't start until later, so usually we start at 7:10 in the morning. We didn't have to start until 8 o'clock in the morning, and we just held virtual sessions, and we went about our day as if we were in the building. The students still went to specials, so like music and art and PE, and they still went to lunch, and we just were off camera for those times.
Do you feel like the children were able to learn and retain the information in the same way that they did being in this classroom?
I do not believe that the students are able to retain things virtually the same way that they can retain them face-to-face, because when we're face-to-face, we have a lot of activities that are hands-on and more manipulatives, whereas virtual, they're just kind of listening to us lecture like a college class when they are in elementary school.
What do you think was the biggest challenge overcoming helping students learn with the virtual process?
The biggest challenge with helping students learn virtually is probably getting them to actually log online. I know that in the area that I teach at, it's hard to get in contact with parents and to make sure that they're logging on and staying logged on when they're supposed to. And discipline is a little bit different because we can't really control what they're doing in their house.
So you teach at a Title I school, and for those that don't know, a Title I school is a school comprised of lower income students. What were some challenges that you faced, particularly dealing with some of the underprivileged youth?
Some challenges that we face dealing with underprivileged youth is definitely their access to internet and their access to a device to actually be able to log on to the virtual sessions and be engaged with classwork.
Being a special education teacher, that comes with its challenges in itself, but having to teach special ed kids virtually, how were you able to combat doing that while also keeping an eye on your children that were in class physically?
It's actually very difficult. A lot of the times I lose track of my virtual kids. I will be working with my face-to-face students, and then I am like, oh my gosh, I still have kids online. So then I have to go back to my computer and make sure that they're okay and they're following along and understanding what we're teaching.
So with virtual learning, I know that there is some type of platform that, all teachers have to teach on. Can you just talk about, some of the challenges that you face when having to, learn new technology without much direction?
Yes. So we do have our own platform for Cobb County that we use, and it's called CTLS, and it has been very difficult to figure out because since we cannot meet in a group because of coronavirus, we had to watch videos on how to use it, and we had to do modules on how to use it and just kind of play around with it on our own without anybody really there showing us what to do. So that was very difficult. But we've gotten used to it. We still have a lot of glitches because it is a brand new platform that they came up with, I'm sure, over the summer. And so we've had a lot of glitches and a lot of issues with connections and things like that.
All right. So what are some ways that you teach in Cobb County? So what are some ways that Cobb County school systems have made you and some of the other staff and even some of the kids at school feel safe?
We do have a mandatory mask requirements, so all students and staff wear masks all day long. They have also provided us with sneeze guards, which are like these little plastic things that we put on the desk for each student that is face-to-face. We also have rotated lunchtime, so not every single student is eating in the cafeteria all the time. So on Mondays and Thursdays, my class eats in the classroom, and on Tuesdays and Fridays, we eat in the cafeteria.
So what would happen to a teacher if they were to contract COVID? Is there any type of sick time, or is it a type of situation where you're just on your own?
At the beginning of the school year, they did not really have anything in place for us. If we were exposed or if we had it, we had to use our sick leave, and after, your sick leave is up, then they just take it out of your paycheck. So that was a really big issue that we had. They finally have something in place now where you have 10 days of paid leave with no questions asked. But obviously we do have to report if we have been exposed to or if we have contracted COVID-19.
Gotcha. After this presidential election, we saw Joe Biden take the victory over Donald Trump. And a lot of people speculate that once he takes office in January, there's going to be another nationwide shutdown. Mm-hmm. Having to teach virtually already this year, what are some things that you've taken from the first experience you've had doing virtual learning, and how can you use those experiences to apply them to having to teach it again, if that's the case?
Going back to March, we didn't really have a straight platform to use. It was just kind of up to our own devices. And then when we came back in the fall, we have CTLS, and that was very stressful because it was brand new. Nobody really knew what they were doing, and they just kind of were giving us videos and modules to help us learn about it. But now that we have been using it, because we still use it for our kids that are virtual still, I think that one thing that I will make sure to do is make sure that my kids are accountable and know when they're supposed to log on by sending schedules to all of them so that they know when and what they are responsible for.
All right, I think that's all the questions I have for you today, Chelsea. I appreciate you coming out here and, giving us the experience of what it's like to be a teacher during a pandemic. I think everybody thinks of medical professionals and, how they've been dealing with having to be on the front lines and being right in the face of COVID. But I don't think that a lot of people think about what teachers are going through. I know a lot of people, I think, learn just how hard your job is, during this pandemic when they had to be at home with their children trying to attempt to teach them. So I really appreciate you coming out, and thank you very much.
Thank you.